where there was this man, filled with 1,000 demons, and he lived in the tombs. Well, these were not Jewish tombs. The area of the Gergesenes was really occupied by the Roman army. And built into the rocks, there were lots of Roman tombs. Soldiers died, or whatever, buried. And according to their practice, and now I'm talking to folk who come from Asia, you will recognize this immediately. They would bring offerings to the gods and to the ancestors of the body in the tomb, and they would leave these gifts of fruit or whatever at the door to the tomb, and so they had all these many tombs in the Gergesenes where Roman soldiers were buried, and this demoniac, this man who was filled with all these demons, what he did was he lived off the fruit outside all the tombs, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So, and that's where he lived, and until Jesus met him and cast all the demons out. I'm referring all of this to the burial of Jesus, which was very traditional, as we read it in the Gospels. I thought that gathered as we are from many different parts, members of Muli Muli community, together with people from Sydney and Brisbane, etc. From China, I'm Australian, born, but of Jewish background. Phil, he's an Aussie, and right? Yes, he says. So well, we've got one Aussie present, and any other Australians here? White Australians? Right. So isn't it amazing? We've got this group of people, and there's maybe 2 Australians. The rest are from other parts of the world. Yeah. Pardon?
I'm Australian.
Oh, you're. Of course. Yeah. I like that. I really like that. Okay, but gathered as we are, I thought it would be a really wonderful time to pray. To pray on this word, not to pray our ideas, but what is God saying to us that He wants to happen? He wants to have happen, in our world today, in our world tomorrow, and what God wants to see happen. Then He would ask us pray. I will give a few minutes of teaching on a particular aspect, and that is on the Hebrew meaning, the Jewish meaning of word. English W-O-R-D, word, but Hebrew is davar, D-A-V-A-R, davar. And I want to read to you a description of davar. Jewish, this is how the Jewish people understand it. It is from the thank you very much, the prophet Isaiah, and it's from chapter 55. So those of you who have Bibles, please turn to that, Isaiah chapter 55. And I want to read 2 verses, verses 10 and verses 11. Now, I've got to honestly say to you, before we start, is that the Hebrew understanding of davar is, that is word, is not, when we think, in our Western culture, when we think of a word, we think of a white page with black writing on it. You know, the white page contains word. When the Hebrew thinks of word, he doesn't think at all of any paper nor of any black ink. Not at all. The first meaning of word is action, event. Yeah, something happening. Now, you all understand this, because you know that when you speak a word, you speak a word out of your mouth, it goes out into the atmosphere and it can affect things around you. It can affect people, relationships, and also even situations. So that if you speak a bad word and you go, like in anger, you're angry and you speak a bad word, it goes out of your mouth and now affects those who are hearing, hearing your anger, and then immediately you go, oh, wow, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't. And you want to bring the word back, but you can't. Once you release it, it's gone. And it's going to have its effect. It's going to have its effect. And, okay, I am, I am trying to give you an example of the power of word. Now, you must understand that that's how God is. We read in Genesis chapter 1 that when God came to the point of creation, of creating, he spoke a word and it happened. Spoke a word and it happened. And the word in Hebrew, chapter 1, is davar, devarim, dober, various forms of the verb davar. And now, so davar is also a verb, a doing word, and also a noun as well, a naming word. So davar is both. All right. Okay. Now I want to read Isaiah chapter 55, verses 10 and 11, and this is a description of Hebrew description of word. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return back to heaven without first watering the earth and making the ground to bud and to flourish, so that it yields plants of seed for the sower and then finally for bread for the eater. So is my word. So is debris, my word. Davar, debris, my word that goes out of my mouth. It will not return to me empty. But my word, debris, will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. Okay. That's davar. I mean, you can see that it has power, has action, and it does things. All right? There is another mention of davar. Normally they use the Greek word and not the Hebrew. The Greek word they use is logos, and you may have heard some preachers use that, logos. But the Hebrew for that is davar, debris, debrim, and sorry, I'm turning to it. And you will know it immediately. As soon as I start reading, you'll know. Now, I'm going to not use the English W-O-R-D word. I'm going to use Hebrew davar, okay? I'll put Hebrew davar in. Okay. And you'll know where I'm reading straight away, I'm pretty sure. In the beginning was the davar. And the davar was with God. and the davar was God. He, that is, he, davar now is a he, was with God in the beginning. And through him, the davar, all things were made. And without him, without davar, nothing was made that what has been made. For in him, davar, was life. And that life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. Hebrew, Yochanan. His name was Yochanan. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all men might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness, a testifier of the light. For the true light that gives light to every man was coming into the world. Now he was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. Amazing. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Amazing. Yet to all who received him, and to those who believed in his name, he gave the power, which is the better translation. It says the right in the not good. He gave the power to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, not of human decision. No, the word is not decision, it is of passion. Not of human passion or of a husband's will, but born of God. Okay, I'm going to finish this. But the davar became flesh. The davar, that is, the davar that was with God, that was with God creating everything, this davar became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. All right. So, and you know that comes from John chapter 1, the Gospel of John chapter 1. And so now we understand that davar is not ink on paper, but davar, first of all, is power going out, from speaking, but the davar is now a man, a special man, called Yesu, or Jesus, or in Hebrew, Yeshua. And amazing. Now, of course, he carries with him all that davar is. He carries with him power, the power of God himself. And that's who comes to you, through the Word. He comes to you as real life, not something artificial. Do you understand? Not a concept, not an idea, a man's thinking, but he comes to you not some abstract kind of philosophy. He comes to you as a real live person, a real live man, and this really is awesome, isn't it? Now of course, it says in John, this is why I read it, that he came to his own, but his own didn't receive it. Amazing, Yet he came to those whom he spoke at the beginning. He spoke them into being, And even though they were really sort of formed out of the word from his mouth, they didn't recognize him. Amazing. Now we can be the same. We can sit here today and, well, the word is here. The davar is here in this building. And we can say, well, or we can welcome him. We can say, davar of God. Davar Elohim, we welcome you. I welcome you into my heart. I welcome you into my life, into my thinking. Davar, fill my thoughts with your words, with your devarim. May your davar, your devarim, now fill my mind, my head, with all your words and all your thoughts and all your pictures, right? And of course now this becomes the base of prophecy, doesn't it? Of vision and prophecy, which the Lord wants to fill us. In the Christian church for so long, prophecy just didn't exist. No one used it. No one entered into that realm because they were frightened of it, scared of it maybe, or something, I don't know. There's lots of reasons. what is happening, in our Christian circles today is there is a resurrection, of these wonderful ministries. Yeah, wonderful ministries of the Lord. And now it can be misused, but used correctly under God's direction, become powerful instruments of God speaking to us and speaking into us, right? Okay, all right, enough. And I'm saying all this in introduction to our time of prayer and praying, because one of the first things we're going to have to do is listen for his davar, his davarim. God, what do you want to say to us? What prayers do you want us to speak? And you might think, I can't hear. I mean, me hearing God's voice? Oh no, that's too much for me. That's too great for me. No, please don't. God created you with ears. Why did he give you 2 ears? To hear. Why did he give you a mouth? To speak. Why did he give you, eardrums, connected to your brain? That is to receive the sound waves and transmit it to your brain, and then your brain now begins to process it as communication. Now you're all created with all these faculties and facilities, etc. Why? So you can hear his voice. He wants you to. He created you like that, and you can. I mean, that's enough. But of course, when we hear his voice and we speak what we hear him saying, we are releasing into the atmosphere the devarim of God, and it brings change. Yeah. Yeah. You see, it has power. It has authority. Yeah. We're not going to speak our ideas only, but we're going to speak God's ideas and God's plan. And it shall come to pass. Yes. And this is the confidence we can have in our praying. This kind of praying. Yeah, God. We can be changers of our world, of our society, of the conditions around us. We face conditions, and dear brother Pastor Philip, I've heard some of the difficulties that this community is facing. Well, I mean, I just put it down straight out to prejudice, right? People, even governmental agencies, are prejudiced against a community like this. Wrong, unfair. But of course, now with prayer, I'm mentioning this quite deliberately, because with prayer, would you believe you can change the minds and the hearts and the understanding of government agencies? Yeah. And they'll say, they're sitting there in their desk, I don't know why I'm thinking like this, but wow, we've been working against this whole thing, but I don't know. I think it's crazy. I just think it's crazy, and change their mind. Why not? God's Spirit can say. For him it's easy. Yeah, no worry. Okay. All right, that's enough. I won't have to talk. We now need to pray. I would like to just begin a prayer for us first. And it's from Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 3. And I'm going to, as I pray, I would just like to walk up and down here, praying God's word. Now the point is,